wasn't feeling so well. I feel much better now. We're working hard to get me all the way back.
And now at 6:30, President Trump speaking out tonight for the first time since being hospitalized, while the White House sends mixed messages about his condition. The president's supporters are mobbing the outside of Walter Reed Hospital right now, crowding around the fence and waving flags.
A few hours ago, the president gave his own update in a 4-minute message on Twitter.
I'm starting to feel good. You don't know over the next period of a few days. I guess that's the real test. I most of all appreciate what's been said by the American people, by almost a bipartisan consensus of American people. The therapeutics, which I'm taking right now, some of them, and others are coming out soon that are looking like, frankly, they're miracles. If you want to know the truth, they're miracles. People criticize me when I say that, but we have things happening that look like they're miracles coming down from God.
And reporter Natalie Brand joins us live from Bethesda with a new message we just received from the White House physician minutes ago. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, Brian. Minutes ago into the inbox, so I am going to read from part of it. It says this from the president's physician, Dr. Sean Conley, says the president continues to do well, having made substantial progress since diagnosis. He goes on to say the president's completed his second dose of remdesivir, remains fever-free and off supplemental oxygen. It also goes on to say we are not yet out of the woods. The team remains cautiously optimistic. And in the video message, the president even acknowledged that the real test could be the next few days. All of this after some conflicting information earlier today. The president's physician and a team of doctors from Walter Reed said Saturday the president is doing well.
He's in exceptionally good spirits. The quote he left us with was, "I feel like I could walk out of here today."
But a source familiar with the president's health told reporters vitals over the last 24 hours were very concerning, and the next 48 hours will be critical in terms of his care, adding, quote, "We're still not on a clear path to a full recovery." CBS News has also confirmed the president was administered supplemental oxygen at the White House Friday before he was flown to Walter Reed in the evening. It's not clear if the president was having trouble breathing at that time. President Trump's physician, Dr. Sean Conley, deflected questions on that topic.
He's not on oxygen right now, that's right.
He's not received any at all?
He's not needed any this morning today at all.
And new questions are now emerging about the timeline surrounding the president's diagnosis.
Just 72 hours into the diagnosis now.
In a White House statement issued shortly after, Dr. Conley said he incorrectly used the term 72 hours and should have said day 3, adding that the president tested positive Thursday night. Earlier that same day, President Trump attended a fundraiser in New Jersey. He traveled to Minnesota the day before. It's still unclear exactly when President Trump began displaying symptoms, and Dr. Conley declined to answer a question about when the president last tested negative for the virus.
I'm not going to get into all the testing going back, but he and all the staff routinely are tested.
As the White House continues contact tracing, the list of those in the president's circle who have now tested positive has grown. Chris Christie is among the latest. He's now one of 8 people who attended last Saturday's White House ceremony for Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett, who have since tested positive. And new this evening, we do have a little bit more information about the timeline and Hope Hicks's diagnosis, which really led to all of this. We've learned that a small group at the White House learned of Hicks' positive test result just before the president left for his fundraiser in New Jersey on Thursday. Then we learned the president did not get a rapid test until after his return. It was positive, prompting a more elaborate test. So that is some interesting information that we received. The president going to that fundraiser even after some White House officials had learned Hope Hicks had tested positive. Brian.
Natalie, what do you know about the contact tracing efforts that are underway now back in D.C.?
I thought there would be some in Pittsburgh, and there was not any.
Well, this continues because, as we mentioned, Chris Christie became the 8th person at that White House event just 1 week ago to now test positive for the coronavirus. And as you've been seeing in that video, it was a very large crowd of people there that day. We also learned today that a 3rd Republican senator has tested positive now, Ron Johnson of Wisconsin. He was not at that event. So now there's concern on Capitol Hill. I checked in with Senator Dianne Feinstein's office tonight because we learned that she will be receiving a COVID test just as a precaution. That is now expected to happen on Monday, Brian.
All righty, Natalie Brand, live for us near Walter Reed Hospital tonight. Natalie, thank you.
And in the past couple of hours, Chris Christie has checked himself into the hospital, as you heard, and he's calling it a precautionary measure. He says he's only experiencing mild symptoms, but he wants to play it safe because he does have asthma. Now, the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., tweeted out today that he has tested negative. He attended Tuesday's debate with his siblings and did not wear a mask. Vice President Mike Pence and Second Lady Karen Pence tested negative for COVID-19 this morning. The Trump campaign says the vice president will hold an event in Peoria, Arizona on Thursday. And the debate between Vice President Pence and Senator Kamala Harris is still on for Wednesday at the University of Utah. But debate organizers are putting some extra space between the two to keep them safe, 12 feet instead of the 7 feet initially planned. And it's unclear if future debates between President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden are still on the table. The Commission on Presidential Debates has so far declined to comment.